Well, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, we have yet another video regarding Skull and Bones, and this one has to do about the actual sales regarding the game, because it seems like Skull and Bones is taking away all the nonsense that's happening from the Suicide Squad game, because we all know the internet has completely roasted Suicide Squad right now, but it seems like Skull and Bones is the new roasting target, and rightfully so for many different reasons. But apparently, according to this article from Games World, Skull and Bones has debuted poorly on UK box charts, with physical sales 4 times weaker than Sea of Thieves.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
Now, this particular news I am not too shocked to see, to be honest with you, because you gotta imagine the word of mouth gets around very quickly when it comes to games like this. This is particularly the reason why Suicide Squad is getting roasted as terribly as it is. Once people found out that Skull and Bones cannot offer even close to half what the Assassin's Creed Black Flag single-player experience offered, I think word got around very quickly that unless you are a super fan of naval combat and only naval combat, you're not necessarily going to enjoy this game to the fullest, to the point where you're going to want to pay full price and then have to deal with microtransactions and whatnot through a quote-unquote live service quadruple A game. So let's get into this article, guys, from Games World Observer. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So 4 times weaker sales than Sea of Thieves launch. Now, Sea of Thieves, again, a lot of people have ideas about that game. It's more of a long-term success kind of a game where it kind of got better over time, and the same thing could theoretically happen with Skull and Bones. I just don't have the same level of care or the same level of, I guess, patience with Ubisoft, because with Ubisoft, they love to kind of take things away that they previously gave for free and then resell it to you down the line, right? My biggest gripe with this game is that it doesn't have melee combat. It only has the actual ship combat. I think that's ridiculous. Why would you take half of the game out of Black Flag only to what? Sell it to us later down the line? I guarantee you Skull and Bones would have an expansion at some point that's going to feature melee combat like they should have had from the first place. But let's get into this article. So it says, it seems that the launch of Skull and Bones is far from a success, especially for a big budget project branded as a quadruple A game. Ubisoft has yet to reveal any figures, but we can take a look at how it performed in terms of physical sales. Skull and Bones debuted at number 4 on GfK's UK box charts, selling fewer physical copies than last week's other new release, which was Mario vs. Donkey Kong, which ranked first. According to GamesIndustry.biz, Christopher Dring, the sales of Ubisoft pirate action title were less than a quarter of Sea of Thieves launch. However, it is worth noting that digital distribution has become more dominant since 2018, so a direct comparison is not 100% fair. Now again, just to be clear, this is not going over digital sales, so obviously if you account for that, chances are the number is going to go much higher, but I do think that people are probably going to be refunding this game in mass, just like they were doing with Suicide Squad. Once you get your fix of doing the naval combat, and again, I showed how the naval combat looked in my last video, so if you missed it, please go check it out. You'll be able to see about a 30 to 40 second clip of what it's like to basically board a ship without actually boarding a ship. You don't board the ship, it just, you see a cutscene, it's boring. Like, it really is. A ship combat, I'm sure, is fantastic, but everything else that you would expect is not there, and it's sad because this game had 11 years of development. You have plenty of time. You can't argue that you didn't have time. You can't argue that you had to rush it out because of investors. You don't have that argument anymore. That argument is completely null and void, and unfortunately, you are literally left with nothing but a shell of what a Black Flag online service game could have been if you just would have gave a shit. If you weren't too busy trying to nickel and dime people and actually just give a shit, you probably would have came out with a good game. But unfortunately, just like all these other games, they are heavily mismanaged. So it says, according to Banisher's Ghost of New Eden, an action-adventure title from Don't Nod and Focus Entertainment, debuted at number 16, posting poor physical sales despite good reviews from both critics and players. Helldivers 2 remained in 7th place, while Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League dropped from 3rd to 13th place. That game is dead. I'm sorry, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, that game is going to be dead very soon. Within a few months, I promise you, it's going to be very similar to Marvel's Avengers. I've been saying that over and over again, and I have all the haters in my comments trying to say otherwise, like, no, you don't understand, you don't get it what Suicide Squad is, everybody loves this game, we're all playing it, there's a ton of people and I'm like, dude, Shut up. It's just, we get it. You like the game and that's fine, but let's not pretend what's happening is not happening. It says below are JFK's top selling best physical games in the UK for the past week. So you got Hogwarts Legacy still absolutely dominating. That game got robbed in every aspect, and we knew it was going to happen. When I was streaming Hogwarts Legacy, I said that this game is going to be one of the best sellers of the year, and nobody's even going to recognize it, because if they recognize this game, it's going to go against all their woke overlords over in these award shows where they cannot have games like this win. They can't even have games like this be mentioned. Let's be real. Hogwarts Legacy most of the time wasn't even mentioned because that's going to upset the trannies. That's basically it. They don't want to upset the LGBTQ community, which everything upsets them anyway. So you might as well just do what you want to do. But still, we knew that Hogwarts Legacy was going to get robbed. And considering this game is the top selling game of the fucking year last year, and still is number 2 on a modern list right now for 2024, that says a lot. So it says Skull and Bones is a really troubled project for Ubisoft. Its development began more than a decade ago, with its direction and scope changing several times over the years. The French company even received subsidies from the Singapore government and, according to recent reports, spent roughly $200 million to produce the game. After what seemed like a never-ending development and multiple delays, Skull and Bones finally launched on February 16, 2024. It received mixed reviews on Metacritic. With an average score of 64, its user rating is even lower at 3.1 out of 10. Prior to the game's release, Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot told investors that Skull and Bones is a fully fledged game. Well, that's a lie. We all know that that's not true. And defended its $70 price tag, $100 for the premium edition, by saying that it's a really full, triple, quadruple A game that will deliver in the long run. Well, I mentioned this in my last video about Skull and Bones, the first one that I released. And again, when these developers tell you that this is a fully fledged out game, when they tell you that it's a finished product, whatever, like it's ready to go, don't believe them, bro. Do not believe them, especially when they're from these companies like Ubisoft or these companies like Bethesda. They're never going to be able to deliver on their promises. They always are going to oversell and underdeliver. It's the complete opposite of what everybody should be doing. You should be underselling and over-delivering. That way everybody looks at you like a hero when you actually deliver the product and you shock everybody, right? When it's actually good and it's finished and it's a complete game. But you don't tell people it's a complete game and then you sell them something like this. It doesn't make sense. It's very clear that this game is not complete, or it's very clear that it's heavily mismanaged. It's got to be heavily mismanaged because, again, no game takes 11 years to go through development. That's not a thing, okay? That's just not a fucking thing. And if it is a thing, then somebody messed up along the way, which, again, we know that they did because it's gone through multiple iterations. It's gone through multiple rewrites. So this game is definitely not what it used to be. I'm sure it was a lot closer to Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and then eventually became this thing where they were trying to figure out, how can we sell microtransactions in this game? I know, let's remove one of the core features of Assassin's Creed Black Flag and sell it to them later down the road. I'm sure that's going to be a great idea. That's going to give us tons of positive feedback when we release this game and people go to board a ship and get a cutscene instead of being able to fight anybody. It's like, come on, man, what are we doing here? So unfortunately, it looks like, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who have invested in Skull and Bones, you have one or two options. Either you heavily enjoy naval combat and that's all you want to experience, and that's fine. Go enjoy what you enjoy. Or number two, you got to realize that if you are hoping for Assassin's Creed Black Flag online, you're not really going to get that. And if you are going to get that, you're probably going to get it in a DLC or an expansion pack later down the road that you're going to have to pay 30 to 50 bucks for in order to access. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.